cloud. It's connecting. There we go. All right. Welcome to the Inner Loop, to this. I don't know, I know we have several people in the DMV, but I know many of you are also elsewhere. And here it has been chilly and dreary, and I saw a little peak of the sun today for a second, but I think that was the most we're going to get. Although I don't know, maybe tomorrow will be okay. But some more snow coming our way. Yes, 8 seasons, which is wild, and we're so excited to know that you're all here and a part of building what has become a really important part of our lives, and something that we hope continues to be a beacon, a resource, a refuge for our community. That is what we strive to do. Like I said,
all in her feelings, and she
know.
normal intro.
It's a lot. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Courtney, and
I'm Rachel.
There's Rachel. The way this is going to work, well, so typically, typically not in COVID, we meet in bars and we do this in person. But here we are virtually for the time being, and we're trying to keep the rhythm much the same as when we are in person. So we encourage you to utilize the chat, use emojis, emote, express as much as you feel comfortable doing or want to do.
They've added emojis, Court, since we last had it.
They have, I know. There's it's a whole new world here on Zoom. Yeah, Kira's got the party going. So usually we have Dan, who is one of our wonderful working board members, do the kind of back end of the Zoom stuff, but you're stuck with us tonight. So I apologize in advance if I'm a little slow to get spotlights going. We'll see. But yes, we encourage you to utilize the chat, comment on each other's readings. If you have books, if you have articles, if you have stories, if you have poems that you want to share, please do so in the chat, send links, and we can always reshare those after the event. We will have Tommy, our featured reader this evening, kick us off, followed by our first set of 3 readers.
I was just going to jump in with the feedback part and give my little
Oh yeah, go for it.
So anyway, I just think that part of the joy of reading to an audience is getting that immediate feedback on your work, and that's stunted a little bit by the virtual setting. So it's super nice for everybody to just put reactions into the chat. The chat is a very relaxed environment where you can just put your immediate reactions. And it's really nice for the reader to be able to go back and see what the reactions were to their work. And it's a nice, replacement for what they would normally get with laughs and, feedback from a live audience. So definitely utilize the chat for feedback. And then also don't be afraid to promote yourself as a writer. Just put a link to your book, put a link to your website, whatever you want. That's the other advantage of being virtual, is people can check you out instantly. They can click on the link and say, I'm going to come back and read about you again later. I really liked your work, etc. So the chat is a really good way of sort of making this all worthwhile and to recreate the community feeling that we like to create at the Inner Loop.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. And I'm also going to drop the program into the chat while we're talking about so you all can read a little bit more about all the wonderful readers we have this evening. That is loading, and hold on.
While you do that, Court, I'll go ahead and give a little Inner Loop spiel as well. The Inner Loop is a nonprofit in DC. We do these monthly readings where we get writers from all different levels of their career together to hear each other's work, support each other. We also have a summer residency that we do in cooperation with the Woodlawn Estate and Pope Leahy House that Courtney spearheads. So if you're interested in a summer residency, you could check that out. We have biannual retreats that we do in cooperation with the Porches down in Virginia. And we're hoping that we can restart that in October, depending on how the world looks. We would want to do that safely. And we also have a podcast called The Inner Loop Radio, where we talk about the writing life, writing craft, and we interview local authors. And we actually just wrapped up a inspiration series where we did author takeovers. So all your favorite authors taking over the podcast, talking about what it's like writing during the quarantine, how they stay inspired, giving you writing prompts. It was like a really beautiful series. It was really nice to hear people from the first person. So check that out, the Inner Loop Radio, on any podcast site you use. And you can check us out at theinnerlooplit.org. I'll put it in the chat. Speaking of self-promotion.
Awesome. Thank you, Rach. And I will also just note that Rachel mentioned the summer residency, and we'll be putting the call out for those who may be interested in participating in the residency. So that will be out soon, and anyone who has questions can feel free to touch base with us individually on that. Trying to think if there's anything else you need to know right now. Like I said, we're gonna start with Tommy. We'll have our first round. We'll have a brief intermission where we will separate everyone into breakout rooms. This is kind of another way that we try to reproduce the idea of being in person and live with one another. You by no means are required to participate in that. Please, get food, get a drink, take a body break if you need to, but also take an opportunity to meet some new maybe, or chat with some folks, or chat to a writer who you've heard. So yeah, that's a fun little thing that we like to spring on everyone. Rach, am I missing anything? I think we might be ready to go.
I think you got it.
I lost you. Okay, great. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and Tommy, I'm gonna spotlight you as I read your bio for everyone. Hold on. Let's see here. There he is. So yeah, I am, as you all may have gleaned, I'm super excited to welcome Tommy this evening as our featured reader. We met many moons ago when we were baby writers, and he has done beautiful things. He's the author of the books IRL, winner of the 2017 Brooklyn Library Literary Prize, and finalist for the 2018 Kate Duff's Discovery Award. Nature Poem, winner of more awards. Junk, with more awards, and Feed, a New York Times notable book of 2020. He also produced the zine series Hey Teebs. All of these are very worth the read, I recommend. Here's the founder and editor-in-chief of Birdsong, which I think I may have received an early copy of back in the day. An anti-racist, queer, positive, collective, small press and zine that published art and writing from 2008 to 2013. He was a Queer Art Mentors Inaugural Fellow, 2013 Lambda Literary Fellow in Poetry, 2017 NYSCA, NYFA Fellow in Poetry. Awarded lots of awards that are beautiful and you can read about. Tommy is originally from the Viejas Indian Reservation of the Kumeyaay, did I say that correctly? Yes, nation, and he now spends his time between Los Angeles and Brooklyn. We miss him here on the East Coast, but LA, I think, is being good to you. He co-curates the reading series Poets with Attitude with Morgan Parker, also awesome, at the Ace Hotel, and co-hosts the podcast Food for Thought. And Scream Queen is poetry editor at Catapult, writes for the FX show Reservoir Dogs, and is contributing editor at Literary. Wow. Okay. Welcome, Tommy. We are happy to have you with us this evening.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Like Courtney said, we met 10 years ago in Paris. It was a wonderful time. And, it's something that I've learned in doing these. It was for a Paris American Academy thing. And one thing I've learned in doing these sort of residencies and these writer things and these retreats and all that kind of stuff is that, just be kind to the people you're doing them with. You know, they're your cohort, and like, you don't know how you're going to maybe reconnect in the future. I couldn't have imagined that 10 years after that, I'd be reading on Zoom for Courtney in a global pandemic, but here we are. And it's just that sort of lateral ascension. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, help out your homies and your homies will help you out too. Thank you for having me. I've been able to do Inner Loop like at least a few other times, and those times were in person and on tours. And so I thought maybe I'd read a bit from my latest book, Feed, that I wrote it on tour, and that was just my life in the before times was a continual tour. I was always on the road. I mean, it was in between New York and Los Angeles, but I mean, honestly, I was also in Tampa, and I was in Austin, and I was in Portland, both of them, and I was in Seattle, and I was in San Francisco, and I was in St. Louis. I was everywhere. And I was kind of, as I was looking for something to read this evening, I started going through my latest book, and it was just it was really bittersweet, because although that life was a little rough and I was kind of fraying a little bit, and I might say sorry for starting the pandemic, because at the time I was like, I just want to stay at home. I just want to be in my apartment for like a little bit. Can I just like stay in my apartment for a little bit? And then whatever God was watching was like, how about for the next year? So it's a little bit nostalgic, and it's a little bit melancholic, and it's a little bit, wishful thinking maybe, but I thought maybe revisiting like my little tour diary of a fourth book would be interesting in the pandemic. Then I'll maybe read a little bit from Nature Poem. Yeah, and Courtney and I did sort of meet each other when we were baby writers, and then so like 4 books later, and I wrote a feature film, and now I'm writing for a television show that's the first all Native American writers room in the history of Hollywood. So like that's pretty freaking cool. And I just finished rewrites on an episode of television. Like I wrote an episode of television. Like they should have never given me that. Like it's gonna be really foul. Well, actually, I guess I'll start reading from my second book, Nature Poem, and then I'll kind of transition into the latest one. So Nature Poem is a book-length poem about hating nature as a Native American person. So there you go. The stars are dying, like always, and far away. Like what you see looking up is a death knell from light, right? Light years, but also close, like the sea stars on the Pacific coast. Their little arms lesion and knot and pull away. Their insides spill into the ocean. Massive deaths. When I try to sleep, I think about orange cliffs, bare of orange stars. Knotted, glut. Waves are clear. Anemones and shit. Sand crabs and shit. Fleas. There are seagulls overhead. Ugh, I swore to myself I would never write a nature poem. The sand is fine. They say it's not Fukushima. I feel fine in the sense that I feel very thin because I've been doing Tracy Anderson DVD workouts on YouTube and keeping my arms fit and strong. She says, reach, like you're being pulled apart. I can't not spill. Sometimes what you see is what you glut, and there are sometimes insides. I can't write a nature poem because it's fodder for the noble savage narrative. I would slap a tree across the face. I say to my audience, let's say I'm at a pizza parlor. Let's say I'm having a slice at the bar. This man walks in to pick up his to-go order. Let's say his order isn't ready yet and he's chatty. Let's say I'm in Portland because people don't talk to me in NYC. Let's say he's like, meatballs are for the baby. Pizzas for the little man, Caesar salads for the wife, and the beer, he points to the beer and then thumbs at himself. Beer's for me. He has one of those cracked skin summer smiles. He keeps talking like I want to hear him, like he's so comfortable, like everybody owes him attention. I'm a weirdo Indian faggot. He puts his hands on the ribs of my chair, asks, do I want to go into the bathroom with him? Let's say it doesn't turn me on at all. Let's say I literally hate all men because literally men are animals. That's the kind of nature I'd write a poem about. When I say I'm having a catfish banh mi, what I mean is leave me alone. What I mean is I love candy, but I'm an adult. I only let myself have candy at the movies. So I've been going to the movies a lot. Sometimes on dates, I buy the box of gold bears, but keep them scrunched in the cup holder and the armrest because I don't want him to think I'm the kind of adult who still hoovers candy. By which I mean, I don't want to be the kind of adult who still hoovers candy, but fuck, I still bought him like in good fun, was gonna offer him some, but he doesn't like sweets. And I thought too long about the prospect of a box of gummies breach, and we've been kind of cuddling, so the flick is halfway over. All those other snacky losers finished their soppy nachos and should have just wrapped in the movie like a normal person. And it's way past the crinkling hour, but hallelujah, he has to pee. So I quick rip the shit like a bird neck, eat a handful of gummy bears, shove the box back in my backpack before he gets back. NBD, crisis averted, Earth a golden orbit of simplicity. I did that on 2 breaths, okay? I shoot through your stupid sky like a stupid sky. You're like the 3rd convertible in a row, or like seafoam socks in our fat far rockaways. I can't look you in the eye and listen at the same time. You're not stupid at all. You say things like the skin of art. But here with me, in the back of this margarita, oh, you must be very stupid. People here wear stupid shirts that button all the way to the top of the tower and inevitably fall. I look too much into the mirror of my worst self, so life feels like always breaking in a new pair of shoes. And my hunch is we'll be naked soon, having sex like those hand soaps that smell like parsley, sort of refreshing, but chemical, nothing like the real thing. And you would probably notice if we fucked with all my clothes on because you're, of course, so hazel and stupid. Nothing can fall that wasn't built. Except maybe my self-esteem, because I have a hunch that I was born with it intact, but then America came and smacked me across the face and said, like it. And the sick thing, you want to know what the sick thing is? The sick thing is getting smacked across the face makes me so wet right now. And that's probably why poetry. Because in order to get inside, a poem has to break you. Like the way the only thing more obvious than your body is leaving your shirt on in the pool. Yeah, just breeze through this. Okay. Body, let's never go to Vegas, okay? Body, let's never talk to those who feel nothing in front of neon signs, or those who talk about how death is the only perfection. Are we confronting thoughts or pushing them aside? I want to fuck. Hey, I remember the 90s. I was friends with the 90s. I had anxiety in the 90s. I remember hearing Princess died on the radio, not knowing who she was, but my mother was weirdly devastated talking about it to the paramedics carrying away my auntie. To be comfortable in your cement is a miracle. It hugs. It feels like a voice. A voice has skin. I'm looking at the stars on the sea. Let's never go. There's no such thing as a perfect ending. You just have to stand up and say, I'm ready to leave. What if I really do feel connected to the land? What if the mountains around the valley where I was born, what if I see them like faces when I close my eyes? What if I said hi to them in the mornings and now all their calls go to voicemail? What if I would ride my big wheels down the drive too fast, headfirst into the chaparral, and I'd steal myself from them, scratchy, haven't felt the pulse? What if I said sorry under my breath when I sat on moss on the rock at the creek behind myself? I would look like a freaking moron basket case. I get so disappointed by stupid Indians writing their dumb nature poems like, grow up, faggots. I look this thought full in the face. And I want to throw myself into traffic. Admit it. This is the poem you wanted all along. It's hard to be anything but a pessimist. When you feel the earth rotting away on so many homepages, and Taylor Swift is an idiot, and cigarettes cost an arm and a leg. I'm on a porch. I'm petting kitties. And there's lavender in the air. The sun is over the hill,
And my friend Roy knows the names of all the plants in his front yard. One of the kitties is named Witch Baby, and she likes to perch around your neck. The air is clear, and all across Instagram, peeps are posting pics of the sunsets. Okay, now I'm just gonna read this little excerpt about being on tour. It's very slutty and it's very short. I'm slutty and tall. Are you an Are you an introvert or an extrovert? He whispers, black light, blackout as his bitty big balls bounce against the throat of my taint, by which I just mean my taint. Dear reader, I'm a whore on a book tour, whore spelled H-O-A-R. I'm a whore on a book tour, and traveling is so romantic, ain't it? An ode that bodes of dynamism and gutter sluttery, a glittering sea of one night stand and kickstand dick, camel blue ash and pit stain teas. Alexa, Siri, what time does Panda Express open? Panda Express, James Brown is dead. Crowbar cracking awake every fire hydrant on every corner of every city block and mainline that shit into my veins. I'm planted in mustard yellow slip-ons at the waterfront of a new city made of mustard greens, metaphorical tetherball water features, and a literal city. SEPTA, Charm City Circulator, MBTA. I'm sprouting a pink tank top at the bus stop of a new city made of absinthe bird sanctuaries, metaphorical troll doll jewel belly t-shirts, and literal britches. Bridges. L-Train, Amtrak, trolley. I've grown spray-on skinny, high-waisted, acid-washed old fashions at a hotel bar in a new city made of tucked-in black Wayne's World t-shirts. Oh, Dreamweaver. And literal roundabouts. The MARTA, the MARC, the MAX. Portland, Oregon is a bunch of white people in a brew pub whose name is two random nouns like sage and mortar, or whimsy and pickles, or straw and Freddy Krueger glove, expectant faces expecting me to smile back? I don't do that. Portland, Maine, the other white Portland, is a bunch of full leg pant and poly pansexuals. Tonight, I'm pierogies. Ross pierogies. Beer battered fish tacos and jalapeno cornbread, aloe, lavender, under eye nipple goops, obsessively checking my bank balance, and a vocal rest stop in Connecticut that has a Sbarro, a pick and mix candy store, a Taco Bell, and a Chipotle. Proof that linear time is a goddamn sham. And that's all for me. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Love you, Courtney. It's so good to see you, even though it's in this virtual setting. And I can't wait to hear everybody else. Carrie, it's been 10 years. Holy shit. Anyway, peace.
Oh God, Tommy, I love you so much. Thank you for that. I'm gonna remove the spotlight from your beautiful face. But what a way to start this season. Awesome. All right. Rach.
Hello.
Who do we have?
Okay, we're gonna have 3 readers before intermission. First in nonfiction, Janine Olette.
All right, Janine, you are spotlit and you're on.
And I'm unmuted, yes? Okay.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you to Courtney and Rachel for having me. Tommy, that was amazing. Yeah, amazing. And thanks everybody for being here. It's super, super great to be here. I'm really grateful. I'm going to read tonight just a short excerpt from my new memoir that just came out a couple weeks ago. It's called The Part That Burns. And I'm going to read a bit from the beginning of the second chapter because it kind of stands alone in 5 minutes. So all you really need to know is that the narrator at this point, the narrator and her family have just moved from Duluth, Minnesota to Douglas, Wyoming. And this is called Tumbleweeds. I don't believe in jackalopes, but people have to make up their own minds about these things. A jackalope is a cross between a male jackrabbit and a female antelope. Jackrabbits and antelopes are both real. With real things you don't believe or not, they just are. Douglas, Wyoming is the jackalope capital of the world because it's where the first jackalope was spotted by a trapper named Roy Ball in 1829. So maybe jackalopes did exist back then, but it's 1975 now, and supposedly jackalopes are extinct. Still, people report sightings near Douglas all the time. I love our house in Douglas. It's white and green with a cozy front porch that juts into our little square yard of brown grass with one spicy pine tree. Inside, wooden stairs lead up to my bedroom, which has a slanted ceiling and peeling wallpaper that smells of fire and old books. Next to my bed is a square paned window glued shut with paint. Pine boughs scratch against the glass when the wind blows. In Wyoming, the wind always blows. In front of the old Douglas train depot is a giant statue of the jackalope, painted gray and white. The statue looks friendly, like the Easter Bunny, but jackalopes are not friendly. They're fighters. They use their antlers to attack and gore their enemies, which is why they are also called warrior rabbits. I learned these things in Douglas. I also learned that we are foreigners. Foreigners have accents, which means I sound funny when I say things like house and rag and I want to come with. I learned that most kids in my second grade class don't believe in Santa, and that some schools like Douglas Elementary have no walls. I learned that if mama cuts your hair very short because your face is narrow and you don't look nice with long hair like other girls, your teacher might not know who you are. She might say, "And who is our new boy in class today?" I learn I have a talent for dirty looks, and sometimes mama thinks my looks are funny, and sometimes she says, "Get that look off your face before I slap it off." Mafia loves jackalopes. Mafia's real name is Mike, but no one calls him that. They call him Mafia because of him being Italian. If mama's mad at Mafia, she calls him Michael in that voice. I call him Daddy because mama says so, but to myself, I sneak and call him Mafia like everybody else. Mafia says he sees jackalopes on his long drives to and from the graveyard shift at the oil plant. The word graveyard makes me imagine a cemetery, like the one at the top of the hill in Duluth where mama's parents are buried in the ground. But really, Mafia's job is something about uranium. It stains his hands. Whenever we drive past the plant at night, I press my forehead against the cool glass of the car window and watch for the shadowy shapes of the oil buildings with their millions of twinkling lights. In the days when cowboys sang by the campfire at night, the jackalopes sang back, Mafia explains one dusty afternoon. He blows smoke out of his nose. Jackalopes like to sing before thunderstorms too, because they only mate when lightning flashes. Their milk is a love potion. Is that right, Mama says. She and Mafia are at the kitchen table drinking their coffee. She holds my baby sister Rachel on her lap. You bet it's right, Mafia says. The jackalope is sometimes called the horny rabbit. Mama laughs into her sleeve like she does. Little pitchers, she says. Rachel's the one on Mama's lap, but Mama's talking about me. Little pitchers should empty this ashtray, Mafia lifts the gold dish from the kitchen table and holds it out. Go on, Jeannie Beanie, Mama says. Don't be a beast. I carry the ashtray through the kitchen to the back porch where the garbage can is. I spill a little of the fluffy gray ash onto the floor, accidentally on purpose. Mafia doesn't like me except for the tickling game. It goes like this. Mafia chases me, I run. He catches me, I yell and shriek. He tickles me, under my arms and behind my knees, under my chin and between my ribs. I shriek more. He pulls my clothes off and puts me on his lap and rubs his hands between my legs. When he stops, the game is over. That's how it works. I was 4 when I first learned to play. Once you learn, you don't forget. One way that jackalopes escape hunters is by imitating a human voice, calling out trick phrases, "There he goes," and "quick over there," to throw you off the trail. Mafia says the best way to catch a jackalope is to lure it with whiskey. They love whiskey, he says. Drunk animals are slower and easier to hunt. Mafia hardly ever drinks. Neither does Mama, not since the explosion. but I can still get away. I just pull myself through a doorway inside of myself. Some people say it wasn't Roybal who spotted the first jackalope in 1829. They say it was a taxidermist in Douglas who made the first jackalope in 1934. He tossed a dead rabbit down on the floor of his shop next to a pair of antlers, then rushed off to eat his supper. When he came back, he looked at the rabbit and the antlers and decided to mount them together just as they were. He made a fortune selling jackalope trophies. Now, the Douglas Chamber of Commerce issues thousands of official jackalope hunting licenses each year. But the hunting of jackalopes is allowed only between midnight and 2 a.m. on June 31st. That's it. Thank you.
Janine, thank you for sharing that. It was beautiful and tragic and awesome. Thank you. All right.
Next in fiction, we have Selvig Eggers.
And all right, we have you spotlit, and I'm going to unmute you. I
Okay,
think.
I'm unmuted, I think.
There you go. Perfect.
Well, thank you for including me in this. This is really, really fun. I really enjoyed hearing Janine's story. I've never heard of Douglas, Wyoming, but now I know. I'm going to read a little bit from my book, Sika of Reykjavik, which was published in 2019. And Sika, the protagonist, Sika, is born on a farm, a very poor farm in Iceland. And she escapes from the farm and goes to town and works as a maid for a Danish woman. And the Danish woman teaches her how to embroider, which ends up being a really important skill. And she learns how to embroider all these creatures that don't exist in Iceland. Salamanders and frogs and monarch butterflies and snakes and so forth. She makes a poor marriage and ends up and marries a lump fisherman. And so her dream of becoming a corset maker is deferred, and she becomes a fishwoman. Iceland was very poor in the 1930s, the economic depression, and poor women worked at the fish plants. And this meant that you washed the cod, you dried it, you salted it, you flattened it, and you put it in stacks. And then you sold it to Spain for bacala. So the part I'm going to read is from the time when Sigga finally gains a foothold in the corset shop. And I just have to throw out a little bit about myself here, because I was born in Iceland, I'm from Iceland, and my grandmother's sister, Elisabeth Foss, founded the corset shop in Iceland in 2016, and she was the first female business person in Iceland, and the corset shop still exists today. So it has a special place in my heart. So the context of the part I'm going to read now, Sigga has just auditioned to become a dancer in the revue, The Kicking Nightingales. And in those days, in the 1930s, there were a lot of these revues, and there was so much poverty that women would rush to have some small part in these revues. But Sigga has been rejected. So we were heating the cottage with peat and seaweed. I needed more work. On the way home, I balled up my courage and entered the corset shop. Bins overflowed with girdles, slips, and underpants. A shapely woman swinging a measuring tape popped up. "Darling, can I fit you for something?" I batted the tape away. "Magdalena?" "Yes." "Magdalena, I'm looking for work." I need a girl to clean the shop, she said, eyeing my hands. I'll clean free of charge if you'll give me corset construction lessons. Corset construction. I stopped offering those lessons years ago. Disappointment pinched my stomach. Behind Magdalena's shoulder, I glimpsed a small room. A dark-haired woman leaned over a sewing machine, probably stitching corsets. How could I get into that room? I went to the shelf and pulled out a pair of thick salmon-colored underpants with an undershirt to match. Who buys these? I asked. Magdalena's beautifully made up eyes rolled over my body and landed on my swollen fingers and broken fingernails. Who? I repeated, gripping the ugly underwear. Oh, everybody, they're so warm. I can make them pretty, I said. Her eyebrows rose. I embroider. I specialize in Danish creatures. Imagine butterflies, salamanders, hummingbirds embroidered on those underpants. Women will love them. At home, they'll walk around in their underwear. A sparkle appeared in Magdalena's eye. Take some home with you. Come back with something beautiful. I took 3 pairs off the shelf and tucked them under my arm. And thereby, Sika had gained a foothold in the corset shop because she came back every week with the embroidered underwear, and the underwear was a huge hit. And so in 1940, when the occupation of Iceland occurred during World War II, and the soldiers arrived, thousands of soldiers arrived, women started buying corsets. Everyone wanted a corset. And so Sika just happened to be available to learn how to make corsets. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. That's an awesome story. I love historical fiction and to know the backstory of all these kinds of things. All right, Rach, where are we going here? Looking for a spotlight.
Next in poetry, Lecky Lydecker.
All right, here we go. All right, Lecky, you are spotlit.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Lecky. I'm going to be reading 3 poems. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here with you all. It's Tibetan New Year. I'm Tibetan, and so I got 3 Tibetan poems for you.
Woohoo!
I put this in my bio, but since y'all are reading the bios, I'll say quickly, my family is from a place called Temuka, and that's important for the first poem, which is called Temuka Face. There are many ways to make a connection with the sacred land and lineage of Temuka. TemukaDharmaWheel.org. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has suggested that this group of Tibetans is the most needy, so Canada is welcoming them. Trans-Himalayan Aid Society. 1. My Temuka face. Eyes echo mother and father, Popola set in my jaw. Black hair frames brown skin. Cheekbones redden in sun or shame. 2. Language eddies, Spanish, Korean, Mandarin. Ask me to belong, I reply in everything broken. 3. Whatever my face wants, I can't lie. Never breathed air in the land of my ancestors. Never seen the stars, the flowers. That's 1. And also where my family is from is called Medozong, which means flower county. So a little more background. This one is called Urban Outfit. I remember everything. The brick and the mirror shine at a lower Manhattan Urban Outfitters. I remember 2 long, high-waist, dark wash pencil jeans bought on markdown. Remember folding the cuffs. I remember agony in dressing rooms at price tags. I remember year after year jeans. I strained, prayed to erase my undeniable thighs. I remember the Sunnyside apartment where Popo gestured proudly, called a baby, fresh and awake, first American born, my sister and I not counting. I allowed myself the genes for their damage. They're no longer belonging. I remember him taking the jeans and quietly, carefully stitching the seam. And this is the third one. Its title is Rules for Dislocated Pumas. Pumo means, I don't usually explain it, but I feel like it's important. It means girls. And there's at least 3 people in this event who this poem is inspired by, is written for. So, and I think it's maybe some of their first time hearing it. So here we go. Rules for Dislocated Pumas. First, keep warm. Carry the shawl so large it becomes blanket, becomes roof. Tuck tamba into your bag. Remember your dreams. Practice return. Visit your payu on Wikipedia. Whisper to the digits, listed population. IB on your lock screen. The group chat flashes your siblings' names across her face. You are not alone. You never have been. Your insides ring with the clamor of aunties. Allow yourself crying. Forget the rules. Listen. Your body is not a project. You have been through fire. You become steel in the flame. That's all I got. And I just want to say also quickly before I make it weird, Tommy Pico is one of my favorite writers and helped me think that I could write poems that would be important or matter. And it's such an honor to be here with him, with all of you. Thanks so much again.
Lovely, thank you. Court.
Yes. Sorry. I just, like, controls, how do I do this? Yeah, no, that is Lucky. Thank you for saying so, because that's one of the things that we love to try to foster here at the Inner Loop is those connections and relationships and an opportunity for people to get to know each other, even if it's virtually. But Rach, I'm going to spotlight you to chat for a minute while I get the breakout rooms in order.
Yeah, this is not my forte. Chatting. It's not my forte. Hi guys.
Talk about the podcast.
The podcast is on hiatus between our summer inspiration series, which lasted into the winter, and Courtney and I are gonna restart our sweet what's the word? My word doesn't work. Back and forth banter. That's the word.
That's right. I know you all use that. Okay, I'm doing this. I'm gonna open all the rooms. I'm not fancy the way Dan usually is. He has like a little prompt question to help start discussions. But how about?
Yeah, I will say that, we all have writing in common.
Yeah.
If you can turn your camera off and run and grab a drink or go to the bathroom, do it. But otherwise, just ask people what they like about writing.
Yeah. So I made, I don't know, like 10 rooms. We'll see, whatever. Have fun. And okay, it's 8:25. Meet us back here at 8:35. Okay. Don't close out your Zoom. Just, you can mute yourself or turn your video off if you want, but don't close out, and meet us back here at 8:35 for the second half of the evening. resume recording. And we're going to start off with something a little bit different. Hold on. A little bit different this time. Our next reader in nonfiction is Jonah Frank, and we have a visual accompaniment, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about that, and then I'm going to share my screen here. So let's see, hold on one second. All right, Jonah, you should be spotlit for the moment.
Hi. This is all so strange. I'm so amazed at everybody. I feel this is definitely sort of new territory for me. I am, I guess, first and foremost a photographer, and this new book that I came out in early November, and it is a memoir with words and pictures. And in many ways, the book is about images that are meant to be forgotten, and I sort of put out there that we all walk around with this poetic memory, and I wanted to take that poetic memory from my childhood and make it tangible. And instead of walking around with these images in my head, and when I say that, I mean like those moments when we're in conversation with somebody and we're telling a story about our past, and someone stops and says, oh my gosh, I can see that. I mean, I can still see that moment right there. And so I wanted to access those memories. And because it is words and pictures, I mean, it's very much akin to a graphic novel, but it is told with photographs, and there are all these recreated moments. I wanted to create something for book events, like virtual book events, that was words and pictures. So hopefully this plays and everybody can see it. Yeah, and Courtney, you're right that everybody has to be muted to see it, and you should turn your sound up. And it's just so nice to be included with all this talent. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Awesome, thank you, Jonah. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, if you all will bear with me for just a second. And we'll get this queued up here. Okay. I'm going to ask someone to give me a thumbs up when you can hear things, okay?
Cherry Hill, a childhood reimagined. For
Court, we lost the audio.
All right, Jonah, I got a thumbs up that someone could hear it. Can you not hear it? Can other people hear it?
We lost the audio. We heard it in the beginning and then it stopped.
All right, let me try replaying. Hold on. Maybe I have to keep myself off mute. So tell me.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
Okay.
And is there a way you could full screen it? For some reason it looks...
Cherry Hill, a childhood reimagined. For every girl in every town, whoever thought, what else? It was 1972. The phone rang. My mother was sitting at the kitchen table, cutting coupons. I was in the living room looking at the world upside down, imagining the eagles flying around in their wallpaper world and landing perfectly back in place. My mother covered every room in our house with wallpaper, except the room my brothers shared. Theirs had dark brown paneling. Paneling didn't show dirt. Better for boys. But the
parents were battling at that point, effectively separated. They refused to get divorced for religious reasons, but my mother had opened a travel agency, and she told everyone that field work set her apart from the competition. Her numerous trips meant that she was gone about 20 weeks out of every year. My father spent the nights when she was in town living in a guest room at Congressional Country Club, way out in Maryland. When she was out in the field, he moved back home to take care of me. The Exorcist was shown on television the first year of my parents' new living arrangement. My father was home that evening and we watched it together in our small wood-paneled study with my father's solitary Duraflame log blazing in the fireplace. I'd grown up with a Catholic fear of the devil, but I had no idea that he could just decide to lodge inside a person against her will. It sounds melodramatic to say it, but nevertheless, it's true. That movie changed the trajectory of my life. Midway through, as Reagan projectile vomited, I attempted a joke to relieve my escalating anxiety. I'm so glad the devil hasn't gotten any of my friends yet, I said. Me too, my father said, but it does happen. This is based on a true story. I went to Georgetown University with the guy who wrote the book. According to my father, Bill Blatty had learned about the exorcism in a religion class at Georgetown. In the movie, the possessed girl was just a sweet, happy-go-lucky kid, but in real life, my father said that the demon had taken hold of a troubled boy. The priest who performed the real exorcism had lived through the experience. He hadn't ended up at the bottom of a steep staircase like the one who performed the exorcism in the movie. Well, still, how do you know it's really true? I asked. The guy who performed the exorcism was the same one teaching our class, he said, without looking away from the TV. No way, I said. The Duraflame glowed red and yellow, and I imagined seeing the devil pop out from behind it without warning. He glanced at me, possibly alarmed by my silence. It happened, but no need to worry, he said. I believe it's very rare. He said this with a small smile that to me looked like sadness more than anything. It was the "we will survive" smile, and I had seen it so many times since the separation was announced. Thanks a lot, Dad. I'll never get over this. No need to worry, he said as he harumphed his way out of his chair. Just don't give the devil an opening. Stay away from Ouija boards. The Exorcist had been filmed in Georgetown, where I lived. I had been jogging up the infamous steps numerous times during tennis practice. One reviewer dubbed it the scariest movie ever made, and that person couldn't see the Gothic spires of Healy Hall from their bedroom window. It was like learning Freddy Krueger was based on the serial killer who grew up 2 doors down and had never been caught. Thank you.
Y'all, I'm so sorry. Kelly, that was awesome. And, you know, seeing those spires every day and knowing those stairs is always interesting. But yeah, my computer completely crashed. So Rach, thanks for taking over. Jonah, I'm so sorry. But we're gonna continue on in poetry with Barbara Goldberg. And Barbara, I'm just looking so I can spell it here. Let's see.
Set.
There you are. Hold on one second. Let me get your spotlight. All right, you're on.
Okay. I just want to say this has been really great. I love that there are different genres that we're hearing tonight, different styles. So let me start off with a poem that every dentist should have in his or her office. It's called Teeth. We all live in dread of our teeth falling out into our cupped palms. We pray for our teeth clattering in the bone chamber of the skull. And when the little insanities creep up from our throat, our teeth, good soldiers holding their ground, grind them down in our sleep. And praise to the wolf with his sharp incisors, the better to eat, and the ice maiden's teeth, sheathed in enamel, biting clean through the bone. Oh, we would never depart from our eye teeth, rooted dependably above our unremarkable necks. And who is not awed by the white buds of milk teeth that sprout from red plushness and become the cutting edge? The next poem is called Carvel, and I wonder how many of you are old enough to remember Carvel, because I remember when it first came out and it was so delicious. Carvel.
Still delicious.
Yeah, still is. In the summer, when the days were light longer, we'd pile in the car and drive down Metropolitan Avenue for soft ice cream at Carvel. Those nights, we could have been a regular American family out for a spin, whose father maybe tossed a ball with his kids, or tousled their hair, or let himself be tickled. But we knew his moods would return when we tiptoe around the house, lay low. This was the 50s, there was Korea, but it was far away and it wasn't our war. And they weren't murdering our people. Later I'd learn, but only much later, after he was long gone, that he gave our blue Persian carpet to Franz Smetana, who was broke and could sell it for cash. He also gave money to his mother's 7 brothers and sisters, and some got out in time, dispersing to Israel, Australia, South Africa, or the year he paid the bills for the Swiss sanitarium my uncle stayed at after the war to put on fat. These kindnesses, these things my father did without thinking twice what to say about them, about him, except that how a man treats his own children is only one part of the story, and there are others. Here's another story, a little cheerful one. Fairy tale. Once upon a time, a baby boy was born to a suicidal woman and a suicidal man. He was not born to make her sane, nor to help the marriage last, but because his birth would save his daddy from the draft. The war has come and gone, the dead lie in its wake. He put a bullet in his head. She drowned in Crystal Lake. The little boy is now a man and takes himself a wife. One hand gently strokes her hair, the other strokes his knife. A question of aesthetics. He never wrote a letter without the words despair or terror, as in, even as a child I knew despair, or how to turn this terror into art. How romantic it seemed then, like living a Russian novel. His final note read, "Tell her our relationship was fully satisfying in every way." No one ever says how thrilling pain is, how it takes you like a lover, how your body cringes before surrender. At first you cry, "No, no," then swoon into its burly arms. You should see your open mouth, your breath coming in harsh gasps. Trust pain to find the choicest parts, the marrow, and suck out resolve, leaving you limp, but oh, how you'll sleep. The only burden heavier than pain is boredom, want of danger. When I teach Anna Karenina to young girls, I say, every woman should experience one disastrous love affair and survive. As a woman who survived, how like a woman Anna was to hesitate because she could not bear to throw her red purse away. How like a man he was to put a bullet someplace deadly. As a woman who survived, I see boredom now as comfort, devotion as something precious, and death in any form, a slap across the face. And sorry, there are all these books. Okay, this will be my last one, and it better be funny to make up for all the rest, right? And it's called Alarms and Excursions, if I can find it. Distressed and distraught over a broken heart, a woman decides she needs protection. Enter Francis Drake from Be Secure. What I'm selling, he says, is peace of mind. The system he touts is used by the Navy and NASA alike. Something like killing a fly with a bulldozer, she says, since she's mainly concerned about her back door. Like his namesake, Drake's been around, has even defeated armadas, pirates greedy for foreign gold. He calmly recites drastic scenarios, taking hostage while carting groceries, stun gun for the dog, the fire that travels 90 feet per second, or he says, you could fall downstairs and break both legs. How do I know, she says, you're not a serial killer or a scam artist? Adele, he says, her given name, you don't. She notes his fingernails trimmed and clean, and his eyes a benevolent baby blue. The power surge, he adds, is a sweet touch, as she imagines his and how it would feel hitched to a man who knows the tricks of breaking and entering, and how to secure all she holds dear from those who would trespass against her. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, I'm excited because another of our Parisian cohort is joining us all the way from Japan tonight. Well, this morning for her. Kyori Fujimoto is going next in nonfiction, and I think I've got your spotlight on.
Okay. You hear me? You hear me? Oh, okay. Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Courtney, and thank you so much for having me here. And when Tommy mentioned it's been 10 years, I was like, 10 years, really? And Courtney and Tommy and you look exactly the same as 10 years ago, actually. So, okay, guys, like we feel like they look exactly the same 10 years ago. And I'm so happy. I'm so honored and excited to read at this event while in Tokyo. So thank you so much. Okay, the piece I'm reading today is a flash essay and titled Shinjuku Golden Guy and the Midnight Diner. This is about a tiny nightlife district in Tokyo and then some food and the memory. Shinjuku Golden Guy came to my attention during the pandemic months in Tokyo. On those quiet stay-at-home evenings, I watched the Japanese TV series Midnight Diner on Netflix. And the diner's location was set in Golden Guy, a tiny life quarter that was once an illegal prostitution district in Shinjuku, a town in Tokyo. Each self-contained episode revolved around a customer who always ordered the same food at the diner run by Master, a mysterious middle-aged man with a scarred face. At the end of the day, the diner's regulars walked through the alleyways where electric signs of bars and restaurants started into the air, opened the diner's sliding door and said, "Master, my usual, please." The show brought these characters a little closer to me through their usual. Octopus-shaped red weenies, bite-sized fried chicken, ground meat cutlet, served with macaroni salad and finely sliced cabbage. Conventional home-style dishes I ate while growing up. Watching one episode after work became my daily ritual. I watched the male porn star sob while eating potato salad after visiting his senile mother, who had often made him potato salad but disowned him for his job. A high-end restaurant critic shoveled buttered rice into his mouth as if there were no other foods in the world. A popular actress slipped into the diner to munch fried noodles to remember her father who had abandoned her. Even with somewhat forced plots, these stories had the power to make viewers say, yes, this could happen in a Shinjuku diner, and I could be sitting next to this person. Most of the flashbacks of the patrons' earlier lives connected with these foods were set in the late 20th century, the decades when the country enjoyed an unprecedented economic boom. People ate, drank, and sang karaoke in town, some of them spending hundreds of thousands of yen per night. Pubs and nightclubs like those in Golden Guy were everywhere as part of the prosperity that was slammed down when the economic bubbles burst. It is believable that these characters, including wealthy ones, kept returning to the diner. The quaint atmosphere added to their gastronomic nostalgia for their younger days in those times. I grew up in those years too, so although I haven't been to Golden Guy, I can feel the ambience of the quarter as if I knew it. Damp-looking alleyways, electric wires crisscrossing above those paths, fluorescent signs bearing bars names like Tatiana and Amsterdam in the rain in Japanese, karaoke songs wafting from behind doors, and the smells of cooked meats that sometimes bordered on stench. These things are embedded in my memories of the bygone days when people craved to revel more and own more, the age that coincided with my not so happy younger days. In the post-economic bubble era, people sought to build the new that included chain cafes and eateries and office complexes with malls, sweeping away those odd eating and drinking places. Neighborhoods like Golden Guy turned into popular spots for international visitors looking to experience good old Japan. When I was younger, I was among many Japanese who didn't miss these old-fashioned establishments that seemed to entice decadent people with money but no hope. Having watched the show as a middle-aged adult, however, I feel drawn to the old Shinjuku quarter. The only deterrent is the pandemic. In the meantime, with what I have in my kitchen, I rustle up the foods master served. Japanese-style potato salad dressed with mayonnaise and buttered rice with a splash of soy sauce. I buy ground meat cutlets from a deli and make a decent dinner with side dishes of macaroni salad and sliced cabbage. I stayed away from these conventional people's foods for a long time, probably because they are powerful reminders of those societally crazy and personally unpleasant times. Now I am ready to make them part of my diet. These dishes I eat for the first time in ages are delicious, reminding me how much I like them. I savored unsophisticated yet delightful taste and textures of the mild-coated potatoes and the breaded juicy ground meat, sensing my heart gradually open to the old days I tried not to remember. Those years, after all, part of my life, and with the joy these foods bring me now, perhaps not everything was so bad. Thank you. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyori. That's beautiful. Okay, hold on. Reach, where are we?
Let's see.
Iman.
Fiction, Iman Kota.
Here we go. All right, Spotlight. unmuted. You good to go?
Yes.
Yes.
You guys hear me? Hi, I'm Iman Quota. I'm going to read from my debut novel, Bride of the Sea, which came out last month. And the program said something about show us your skivvies. So I'm going to do that. But I have to warn you that it's not funny and it's not sexy. And this is a scene with the two main characters, Munir and Saida. They're Saudi students who have moved to Cleveland, Ohio in the early 1970s. They're newlyweds, but their marriage is already falling apart. She's pregnant. And in this scene, it is a snowy March day, and he's trying to find her. He pulls up to the house. The windows are dark, and he doesn't bother going inside. He drives. Something takes him to her. Intuition, love, God, worry. He doesn't know what to call it. Today, the lake is muddy, the sky dark and dense like gray felt. The snow on the beach is ashen, and so are his thoughts. When he sees her, he stops. He can't move, as though he's strapped to a chair, like a prisoner in a movie, watching her without being able to lift a finger to rescue her. She stands at the edge of the water with waves lapping her bare feet. She slips off her jeans and white turtleneck and stands in her white bra and underwear. She walks into the choppy water of Lake Erie, pauses, moves forward. As though overcoming the cold, the water envelops her body bit by bit until it touches her shoulders. Come inside, he says, but of course she can't hear. A small prick of shame, like the shock of touching a car door in the dry winter air. Here is his wife taking her clothes off in public, but no one is on the beach, and he's too cold and frightened to care. To warm himself up, he pulls his arms out of his sleeves and into the body of his coat. He walks to the edge of the lake, his boots leaving tracks in the thick, wet mixture of snow and sand. The air smells woody and wet, and someone must be burning a bonfire somewhere because he smells smoke. He turns toward the parking lot and squints to the left and right, searching for a lit fire, smoke, evidence of other humans sharing this beach with them. He looks back to the lake. She has reached the sandbar about 100 yards from the shore, and the water is at her waist. He drops his coat onto the sand and wades into the water. It is so cold, it might as well be a block of ice. He presses on. His jeans and long johns are so heavy. The water stings like peroxide on a wound. Behind him, someone is yelling, "What the hell? It's fucking cold." Munir looks back to the shore. A man has appeared out of nowhere, walking along the beach, holding a metal detector out like a blind man's white-tipped cane. "What the hell are you doing?" the man says. In his other hand, he holds a rusty tea tray, an odd thing to have found on the beach. Munir turns to his wife. She hasn't moved from the sandbar. When he reaches her, her body is purple. He lifts her. He isn't sure he can reach the shore. Next, he remembers they are lying on the cold, cold ground. The man is standing over them. He wears a ski mask, folded up to reveal a face that resembles Johnny Carson with a salt and pepper beard. His metal detector and tea tray lie on the ground, and he's holding Munir's coat and a sand-colored blanket, pilly and rough, but better than nothing. He hangs the coat on Munir's head by the hood and wraps the blanket around Munir and Saida. They are too cold to warm each other. "Do you need a ride?" the man says, picking up his things. He dangles the tea tray from one hooked thumb. "You're not from here, are you?" Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Thank you so much. All right. Let's see.
Okay, next in poetry, Laura Robinson, aka Lo.
Bringing us home.
Yes.
I've got a few, so thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for coming and all that. So, okay, the first one's called Return of Spring. Maybe one day I will stop smoking, put down the Shiraz, stop raising every man who ever cried beautiful to my lips. Maybe then I will reach into the cedar chest and rattle you loose. Stop reaching for you like a favorite jacket, and you can tell me about the others. How I was not first choice, but the last standing, and isn't that what really matters? Because we don't we love survivors the most? Maybe one day I will learn to swim, break the levees in your skull, spring free of this prison built with concrete hands, shed the heavy life vest, gripping and filling my lungs with floodwater thrusts and your name. Maybe one day I will leave all this behind, stop checking for scorpions in my shoes and bleach out this natural stain. Maybe one day, when love is no longer something I have to survive, I will tell you, you were never something I wanted to get over with. I grew my hair so there was more of me to fill your hands. I spun yarn balls with poems so I could sleep under your tongue. I glued the butterfly rib cage you cracked open and rocked the spilled organs back to sleep. Okay, so next one is called Ruby Throat. When you are the only light on the highway, I hope you feel my spindle fingers twisted in your curls. Remember spiders on your neck, weaving wicked tapestries, my voice crackling like our pipes in winter. On the coldest nights, clutch your hands, your chest. Do you remember milk and honey, naked and spread over crimson sheets? Frayed nails dredging the bays of your back, nicotine stained and brackish, because I could not bear another night drunk, alone. Read my poems, hung on the walls like epitaphs, board up the windows and doors, build a mausoleum. Visit when you need to remember a jeweled Hummer fluttering on your porch in fading sunsets, fireflies beating on glass and wood. Remember the days you forgot to feed the wilting orchids, how you let them die. All right. My next one is called A Prayer for the Plaster Cloud Cover, and these are all from my debut chapbook coming out with Akinoga Press. Spring, summer, don't really know yet. But this is a prayer. Consider the wounds, dark orchids blooming, mirror shatters glint, a congregation of houseflies soundless as owl wings. Burnt rice kneeler, flog your choruses to the vents, to the cold chapels, tie a red ribbon in my hair. Blessed be the scrimshaw of my breastbone, the shivers in my spine, sharks feeding on my marrow. Holy be the turpentine rain thinning the walls, the scythe of his body, warm blade in my bed. This is number 4. It's called Contusions. My love notes are charcoal sketches and song titles, lilies and lyrical half measures, stare straight ahead, blowing cool vapors, blackberry cucumber, a resin monk. I suck a golf ball through a straw, take my own vow of silence, write a poem with my breathing. I've never learned a second language. I am true blue, sheet-stained petrichor, the storm and the blooming after. I am knock-kneed, bent groves out of my depth. I am swirling, stress-fractured, spilling over. I am stretched canvas, cleansed palette, every color dripping on my tongue. I am cinnamon-sprinkled freckles, nearly ripe banana. I am split, unmagnificent, 2 scoops, vanilla melting in his palms. I've been coffee rings next to coasters, more trouble than I'm worth. I've been dangerous scintilla, bad timing. I have survived on rainwater and jelly beans. I have sown my baby teeth in the dirt, watched the warriors they sprung, feed gray wolves. I have been up all night sleeping, drinking with our ghosts. I have been dream catcher, shaman brewing tea, the haunting and the haunted. And my final poem is not from my book, but I wanted to include it since it's a Valentine's reading and my Valentine is here tonight. So this is called Fern. You have no favorite color, but all of them, just too derivative. and all the light that once left is within you. Your body falls like snow, moves against me like a drift. I am happy to be stranded by you. The rip cuts of your palms tell the story of every felled burl you trained to be something more useful than malignant veneers of equal thickness. How they taught you the craft of making yourself whole again. In every timeline, you have sanded my beveled hips, whispered too softly while we made love, respired like sawdust through every tongue and groove, touched some part of me I did not know needed your hands. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Laura. That was a perfectly fitting ending to the evening. Thank you to everyone who has read tonight. Can we have another round? And you can unmute everyone, just like clap real loud, yell and scream.
Beautiful. Woo.
This was awesome. Thanks again to Tommy for starting off our season. It's always wonderful to see you, for everyone being here. I just realized, right, it was like ladies' night tonight. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything you need to know. Tell your friends. We have the dates and featured readers set for the rest of the season now, and you can see those on the website. So if you have writerly friends who want to read with us, tell them to shoot us a note with a sample. And yeah, a newsletter is to come, I promise. Rach, anything else?
I don't know. Keep on keeping on, everybody. Keep writing.
I know this is, we're in month what? I don't know. But we're all still here, and you're all so inspiring, and thank you. And I apologize again for my computer crashing. It's kind of a great symbol of the world. The end. I'm done. Love you all. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. I didn't expect my voice to sound like that. Peace out. Thank you so much. It's good to see you, Courtney, and you, Kyori, and everyone. Thank you for coming out. And yeah, until the next time, until we can do this in person.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
It's so good to see you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Kyori. So good to see you. Thank you for waking up early.
Oh, no. I usually work. So, Tommy, if you hear me, thank you so much. And I am, you too don't know how happy I am now. I might not look it, but I am. I'm so happy. Thank you. Okay, so see you. Hope to see you again.
Who else is here? Terry, you made it.
Yes, I hide in the background sometimes when Bill has it on.
You never hide in the background.
I just don't like videos.
I know, it's hard. I should probably stop recording, huh? Let's stop.
Bye.